Hi, it's Trevor again, and this is Fresh Thinking, and today I have with me one of my Fresh Thinker co-parts. Say who you are and what you do.
I'm Nick Hampson, I'm Product Manager at Look Software Tools.
So Nick and I have been working together for 17 years in one form or another, and we had a lot of time in early days where we talked about GUI being GU2I, which stood for Get Used to It, and he owns GU2I.com. So we've been irreverent for a very long time. In the meantime, I've recently written a blog for Fresh Solutions about responsive, and Nick does a lot on that and spends a little bit of time helping our customers through what responsive is. So I wrote the blog and he had complaints. I mean, actually, Nick had clarification. So we're just going to talk a little bit about that. So let's start first with responsive. I've talked about responsive. What's your view of what responsive is, very quickly, and then the impact it's had on the way we develop?
Yeah. So really the main thing is the ability to write a single web page that will work on any form factor. In a lot of cases in the past, people were going to write lots of different ones. And that gives you the ability to tune very well, but it's a hell of a lot of work. So people just want to be able to do it once and it works everywhere. And it's not just about fitting on there, but it's about actually working for all the form factors. So that might be mouse, touch, or keyboard interaction, as well as just physically sizing onto the device and working.
So do you recommend frameworks so that we don't have to do all that manually?
Yeah, absolutely. It's incredibly complicated to try and roll your own and do this. And some of the frameworks out there today really make it very easy. And there's a huge choice to go from as well. I've not seen bad frameworks that do this, but lots of good ones.
So one of the things that we mentioned in the whole testing was that you can test. In fact, you have a Mac and you can run a OS 10 or iOS emulator. I do that occasionally, but now I can go into Chrome on my Mac and I can test for an iPad. So there's a lot of ways to test, but we talked about that's great for the look, but you've also got to do it for the feel as well. Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, so you can see whether something's going to fit on the device and how it looks on the device by using an emulator such as the one in Chrome, which is absolutely brilliant. And don't go buying tools, just use the one in Chrome, it's brilliant. But what they don't do is they don't tell you how it feels, how it works with touch. They try and do some of those kind of things, but realistically at some point you do have to actually see how the interaction model works by actually moving it and working with it yourself.
So having those devices, and I just noticed we've got a bit of a background. I'm just going to shift us around a little bit, come over here a little, because this is a Fresh Thinking blog. We should have the Fresh Thinking logo behind us. So we're going to continue with that. So, and then the other thing that we were talking about was designing web pages. We've done a lot of manual web pages. We've set pixels, we've tried not to do pixels, to do percentages, and it's a lot of effort. You have a suggestion for us on building responsive web apps, and you started with the fact that my form factor here on this iPhone SE is a 2X. Yours is a
4X.
4X. Oh, bastard. So explain that a little bit. Explain the 2X and the 4X to begin with, and then go on to how we resolve that.
Yeah, so a lot of modern devices show to the browser a completely different number of pixels than the actual pixels in the screen itself. So it's a kind of pixel density thing, and it enables you to have really clear displays, what people call retina displays on things. But what you'll find is while this might be an HD display, it's a quarter of the size if it reports the number of pixels. So you have a quarter of the size of pixels to play with when you're doing a design. And if you try and cater for all of those things manually, you will die under the weight of different devices you're trying to work with. But now a lot of the technologies with using media queries, and also technologies like EMS and REMS, which enable you to stop using pixels and specify a nominal size which can be scaled much easily.
So that's dark. Now let's get it back onto your face again. So an M matches pixels in what way? How do they match?
So an M is notionally equal to 16 pixels. So if you were to create a design at a certain size, everything where you do it, you would basically replace your pixel sizes by dividing it by 16 and putting it as M's or REMs, which are root EMs. But then in the media queries, and so at the top of the CSS that defines the style, you can set a total scale. So you can set a pixel size, even though we're not really using pixels, which will enable everything to scale up and down much more dynamically. Almost in the kind of an automatic version of what you would have when you scale a browser up and down. If you ever press Control or Command plus and minus, the browser gets larger or smaller. You can actually have that happen automatically with just one entry per size, rather than lots and lots of complicated maths in individual pixel scales.
So lots of detail there. What's your one piece of advice for an RPG developer or an RPG programmer in moving into a responsive world? What would be, look right at them and give them your advice?
I'd try building it from scratch with something like jQuery Mobile. I'm not a developer, and I could build web pages with jQuery Mobile, because all you have to do is understand the tags, and then it does all of the work for you, and you can see what's happening. It's a really easy tool to pick up, doesn't cost anything, and it's a great kind of non-scary way to learn. So, jQuery Mobile might not be where you end up. You might go Bootstrap or any other thing, but for me, it's probably the most accessible way to start. Really simple, and you see, what it's doing without being exposed to the complexity.
Cool. So I'm just going to end there, and I'm going to focus right on our Fresh Thinking board and see what we've been collecting for today. We're at the Common Europe Conference of 2017, and yep, there you go. Oh, what does it say? Make IBM people care about UI. Well done. Signing off, another Fresh Thinking episode.